Imagine the world's most powerful warship sailing toward a flashpoint that could reshape global politics. Picture an enormous naval armada steaming through strategic waters, carrying over 50 fighter jets and missiles capable of striking deep inland. Now, imagine this force within striking range of one of America's most vocal rivals, Iran. Today, we'll break down what's happening with U.S. warships near Iran, why this matters, and what talk of an attack plan really means. No speculation, no hype, just the verified facts you need to understand the biggest military standoff on the planet right now. By the end, you'll see not only the military buildup, but also the political tensions and the risks and realities facing both sides. Over the past few weeks, the United States has redeployed major naval and air assets toward the Middle East, especially the USS Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Strike Group and several supporting warships. This nuclear-powered carrier can carry dozens of fighter jets and support thousands of sailors and aircrew. Alongside it are guided missile destroyers with long-range missiles. U.S. officials say this deployment increases their ability to defend American forces and interests, and it also strengthens America's position if it chooses to take military action against Iran. President Donald Trump has described this force as a massive armada and warned Tehran that time is running out to make a deal that could prevent military action. Iran hasn't been silent. The government has warned that any attack will be treated as a declaration of war and has made clear it will respond to protect its territory. Tehran also says it wants negotiations, even as it rejects external pressure. This naval movement is happening against the backdrop of serious unrest inside Iran, where protests and government crackdowns have fueled international concern and pushed tensions higher. What the military presence means. When analysts talk about a carrier strike group, they're not talking about a single ship. It's a mobile airbase at sea, complete with fighter aircraft, surveillance planes, electronic warfare assets, and advanced defense systems designed to operate far from home shores. Here's what this deployment typically includes. Aircraft carrier, USS Abraham Lincoln, a floating base that can launch fighter jets, early warning aircraft, and support missions over long distances. Fighter jets, F-35Cs, FA-18s. These jets provide air superiority, ground attack capability, and electronic warfare support. Guided missile destroyers, heavily armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles and defensive systems that can protect the carrier and conduct strikes if ordered. All of these assets together give the United States a wide range of options, from deterrence and surveillance to rapid strikes if an order is given. That's the main reason the Pentagon moves such a force, not just to show strength, but to shape the strategic picture. But it's important to be clear, deployment doesn't necessarily mean an attack is already planned. Military forces move to influence diplomatic leverage and reassure allies just as much as to prepare for conflict. What Iran is saying and doing. Iran has responded to the naval buildup with strong rhetoric. Officials in Tehran have warned that any hostile act will be treated as war and will prompt retaliation. Iranian leaders argue that foreign military presence near their waters is a provocation, and they frame their stance as defending sovereignty and regional stability. At the same time, Iranian political leaders have publicly stated they're open to talks under respectful terms. Some commentary suggests Iran may prefer negotiation to confrontation, especially as internal unrest continues. This kind of mix, firm military rhetoric paired with willingness to talk, is familiar in international crises. It gives political leaders options, shows strength at home and abroad, while keeping an open channel for diplomacy. That doesn't mean tensions have eased. Global risk remains high, but the situation hasn't yet tipped into full-scale conflict. What experts and analysts say. Foreign policy and military experts point out that this moment resembles other tense standoffs in history, where powerful navies were sent to signal resolve without immediate intent to strike. The carrier strike force is a tool of both deterrence and diplomacy. It changes calculations on the ground by showing that the United States can project power quickly and sustain operations far from home shores. Analysts also note that regional Middle Eastern partners are watching closely. Some have opposed involvement in any offensive against Iran's territory, preferring neutrality or stability. That, in turn, limits how far military options are politically viable. What's clear is no side wants a full-scale war, but both are preparing and posturing. In international relations, that can be enough to prevent conflict just as much as to trigger it, depending on how carefully leaders manage escalation. In the end, what we're seeing is one of the most serious military standoffs of the 21st century. U.S. warships and aircraft have moved close to Iran in a show of force tied to deep political tensions and internal unrest inside Iran itself. Leaders on both sides are speaking tough, but also leaving room for negotiation. That's a reminder that in geopolitics, pressure and diplomacy often go hand in hand.
Let's dive a little deeper into why this situation is so closely watched around the world. The U.S. Navy's movement toward Iran is not happening in isolation. It is part of a long history of tension in the Persian Gulf, a region critical for global energy supply and international trade. The Strait of Hormuz, just south of Iran, is one of the world's busiest oil transit choke points. Any military conflict here could disrupt oil shipments and cause ripple effects across the global economy. The aircraft carrier itself is a marvel of engineering. The USS Abraham Lincoln is over 1,000 feet long, with a flight deck larger than a football field. It can launch more than 50 aircraft in a single day, including fighter jets, early warning planes, and drones. Imagine the precision required to coordinate takeoffs and landings of jets traveling at hundreds of miles per hour, all while the ship moves through potentially hostile waters. Destroyers and cruisers accompanying the carrier act like the fleet's shield. They carry Tomahawk missiles capable of striking targets hundreds of miles inland, as well as anti-air and anti-missile defenses to protect the carrier and nearby ships. This layered defense allows the U.S. Navy to operate far from home with relative security.